Hi, I'm Simone and today we're going to be making a lemon ring cake. This is a really lovely moist cake. It's actually quite easy to make and it uses a bundt tin. If you want to make this cake using a regular tin, you can absolutely do so. Just substitute the tins. So to start, we're going to cream together our room temperature butter and sugar, and we're just going to mix this until it's slightly fluffy. In an electric mixer, this will take a couple of minutes. By hand, it might take a little bit longer. It really is worth the effort of making this really, really light and fluffy, as it will affect the texture of the rest of the cake, so just keep going until it's really beautifully pale and light. Now that my butter and sugar is beautifully light and fluffy, I'm ready for the next stage. So what I've done is I've broken 5 room temperature size medium eggs into a measuring jug, and I've whisked them with a fork first. I'm then going to be adding them a little bit at a time into my mixture and just whisking quickly after each one. Because I've used 5 eggs, I'm going to put this in 5 separate bits. The next stage is to add the zest of 3 washed, unwaxed lemons. I'm using a fine grater, a zester here, and all you need to do is take off the yellow part. So you don't want to have too much of the white part because that is really bitter. So you're just doing your best to get all of the yellow part off and ignoring the white part. The next thing I'm going to do is add the juice from 2 of those lemons that I've just zested. One of the best ways to get a lot of the juice out is to put those cut in half into a microwave for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. Once they're really warm, the juice will come out a lot easier. So that's what I'm doing now. I've mixed my zest in. The next thing I'm going to do is add the juice from those lemons without the pips. Now I'm ready to add my flour. I've already added my baking powder to the flour and I'm going to sift it in. Always, always, always sift in your flour into a sponge. It really, really does make a difference. Also, don't use really old flour. You will definitely be able to taste the difference, and there's also a possibility of having weevils in there. If you're adding almonds, you're going to now do so at this stage. These are ground almonds, so if you bought sliced almonds, what you can do is put them in a food processor and just grind them up until they're really fine. And then this is actually going to make your mixture a little bit stiffer, so what you want to do now is add your milk. Don't add it all at the same time, just add a little bit at a time until you get what is a nice consistency. So not too much pressure when you have to move the spatula around, but also not too sloppy. So just add as much as you feel you want to. Adding milk makes it a lot more delicate and a lighter cake. I don't want the cake to stick to my bundt tin, so I'm using a non-stick spray and I'm going to very liberally spray this tin. If you're not using a non-stick spray, you can use butter and flour, or you can use an oil, anything that you normally use, you can use for this cake. I'm going to add the batter a little bit at a time because I want to make sure that I don't get any of the batter down the hole. Obviously this wouldn't matter if you were using a regular cake tin, and I would probably say that for this mixture it's worth using an 8-inch cake tin. This is a 10-inch bundt tin. Now all you need to do to make sure that you get a nice flat finish is to tap it on your work surface a few times to get rid of any large air holes, and to shake it from side to side just so that you get a nice flat surface on the top, because obviously you're going to turn this over when it comes out of the oven. For the first glaze, you're going to need the juice of 1 lemon, and you're also going to add a tablespoon or 2 of sugar. Once it's out the oven, you're just going to prick it all over with a cocktail stick or a fork. This is because you're going to add the glaze, and what you really want is for the glaze to go deep into the cake to make it extra moist and yummy and really, really lemony. So just be liberal, make loads and loads of holes, and then you're going to just pour over or maybe brush over or use a spoon of the lemon juice sugar mixture into those holes, so you'll get a lovely yummy cake. And then you're going to leave it to cool. It needs to be absolutely cool before you turn this cake out. Trust me from experience, if you try and turn it out early, some of the cake will stay in the pan. So I would say it's a good idea to leave it for a good 2 or 3 hours before trying to turn it out. So now this has been on the side for a good 3 or 4 hours, I'm going around the edge of the cake to loosen it with a plastic knife. The reason I'm using a plastic knife is firstly it won't damage my cake, but most importantly it won't damage my tin. Make sure you go around it a few times, be confident you've got it from the edge, and then turn it out. I've turned it out onto a cooling rack over a piece of foil, and now pricking it with a cocktail stick. This is because I'm going to be making some icing in a minute, with some lemon juice and some icing sugar, and what I want is for it to drape over nicely, but I don't want to get any on my work surface. So if you want to protect your work surface and you want to make life easier when you're cleaning up, just put some foil underneath it, and then that way the excess will drain onto that and not onto your counter. I've made this icing by adding the juice of 1 lemon to a good cup and a half of icing sugar. I haven't measured it out because with this I just find it's easier to just find the consistency that you like. And then I'm draping it over. What I really want is for it to be of a runny consistency so that it will run over the edges of the cake to make a really pretty finish. You'll see what it looks like in a second. Just to evenly distribute it, I would recommend just shaking it from side to side first. And this is the finished article. This is a really yummy, lemony, luscious, decadent cake. Definitely worth making, definitely worth giving as a gift. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe.